All right, guys, so after many retros of the Air Jordan 1 Low and many different variations from the original in 1985, which obviously not a retro, to the 2004 reintroduction of the lows, which was clearly not like the original, to the Air Jordan 1 Low Fat, 2015's Air Jordan 1 Low OG, to the modern Air Jordan 1 Low OG, which is not OG at all, we finally have something that is much closer to the original from 1985. Hey, what's good, guys? My name's Chris. Welcome back to the official WearTesters.com YouTube channel. Today we got a detailed look and review on the Air Jordan 1 Low OG 85 cut. First things first, I will say this is the box. The box looks really cool. It is debossed as well. All the logos pop off and everything like that, so you can see that on like the underlay or the back part of all the cardboard. It's got a glossy finish on the branding, which I also think is nice, and it's a thin box, which is very interesting. So for people like me that are fans of low tops, especially Air Jordan low tops, this, in my personal opinion at least, has been a long time coming. This was supposed to have happened, I think it was like when these originally dropped. This was the neutral, natural, I don't know what the hell you call them anymore because they keep switching the names up and stuff. From what I was told by people on the inside, that these were supposed to be these, like one for one, but there was miscommunication and no ability to go visit the factories due to the pandemic and everything. So like they couldn't go and like actually check. I don't know why emails and pictures didn't work, but whatever. Fast forward to now, 2023, we finally got these joints released, and I must say they look awesome. Like, I really like how these look. I like how they feel. There's some things that are clearly different than past renditions and even different than these bad boys right here. So yeah, this is the 85 cut version, and then we've got the lows, which I think is pretty dope. And for those of you guys that did not know, back in 1985, there were two original colorways released of the Air Jordan 1. This was one of them. The other one was actually white metallic blue. Are they going to release the white metallic blues like this? I believe they are. So just be patient if you're waiting for those. I am hesitant to do this, but I also feel like this is the time to do another comparison. But like, I really didn't like how it turned out.
Oh, with your phone?
Yeah, that was ass.
I think you're your world's worst critic. So everybody who stayed tuned for that portion really enjoyed it.
I do appreciate that everybody appreciated it. I just don't know if it was great. So I'm probably not going to do that, even though I really want to.
I think you should, only because then you're really able to show. Like, I know we have beautiful B-roll, but sometimes like you just like handling it yourself, like being like,
that's what she said.
Well, while we are filming this, I'll consider it. We'll see what happens. But they are different, like I was saying, from these guys right here. These are nasty. What did I do to these? This is what I do with my white shoes. Like, I think somebody just commented on the Air Jordan 4 Pure Money video that they're worth like 1.5K for some reason.
Is that what that comment meant? I didn't understand.
I didn't know either, and then mine look worse than this. Like, they're my camping shoes and my lawn mowing shoes because I would just wear the shit out of them. But anyways, these are definitely better than these as far as overall like look goes, if we're talking about that. I also have these bad boys. I don't know if you guys know about this, but this is Vibe Remake Labs handmade Air Jordan 1 Low OG from 1985. I was waiting to talk about these once I got these, which is where we're at now, because I was not sure how close these would end up looking to this shoe, or how each of these would end up looking when you compare them to the actual 1985 original. And I have to say that while both did a good job in certain areas, I think I gotta give it to Jordan Brand a little bit on this one. Like, based off of the images that I've seen, which are few and far between, they're very hard to find, this one does look a little bit more like the true OG, whereas these, now that they're like side by side like this, they kind of look like a pair of Dunks. I think it's just like the collar height. Both great though. Now, as for this shoe, obviously we've got that Air Jordan 1 outsole, greatest traction of all time, but this is the 1985 variety, so they are different than traditional Air Jordan 1 lows. I did try to show that in the B-roll. Hopefully you guys can see it, and hopefully you're not too grossed out by the nastiness that is the bottom of my shoes. But yeah, so these guys are a little bit different. The regular version of what we now call the OG, even though there's nothing OG about them, they're just more slender. They got the new midsole tooling, so it's very flat and squared off. Same tech inside though, whereas the Air Jordan 1 from 1985 is just a little bit like rounder, I guess you could say, like not quite as slender and pointy.
Do they feel roomier?
From a width perspective, slightly. Length perspective, not exactly. I'll explain that in the fit section. And then hopefully you guys are able to see that the tooling itself is very different. Not just in overall shape, but also the texture textures and things like that, like the actual texture on the 85 cut cup sole is way different than the Jordan 1. I don't think that they should be using the OG label. I think that that confuses people.
I concur.
Now, as for the tech specs, within that cup sole, there's a polyurethane wedge. Inside that wedge is a heel encapsulated air sole unit. And then on top of that is actually a board last. So these are built much more similarly to the 85 version of the Jordan 1 High. And the board last, for those of you guys that don't know, is actually OG torsional support. So back then they didn't use shank plates or bars. And then on top of all of that, there is a polyurethane insole, which I think is really cool, but it doesn't feel quite like what's inside the 85 cut highs. So the one with the light logo is from the high tops, the one with the dark logo is from the lows. The lows are a lot thinner, not a lot thinner, but a little bit thinner, and the density is way different. So this is like dense polyurethane, feels stiff when you first start to wear it, but it breaks in and feels amazing afterwards. Whereas the low top version feels fluffier, kind of like the fake Dream Cell stuff. So you get a little bit more step in comfort right away. I'd say the biggest difference between the high and the low 85s would be the materials that they use. Can you see that in the camera that they are like slightly off? Color-wise?
Oh,
it is like stark white?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so like this one's kind of creamy looking, even though it's not sail. Hopefully you can see the contrast between the actual sail midsole and then the white upper, whereas this one's just pure white. So there's that difference color-wise. Material-wise though, the high tops are thick and the polyurethane coat is as well, so they feel very stiff at first. And I'm just talking about this colorway. I know that when we've talked about future colorways like the black and whites, the materials have gotten a lot nicer since. But that's what these feel like. These guys right here, as far as the lows are concerned, are just super soft. Like they feel really awesome. They don't quite feel like performance grade leather, but you could probably hoop in it, which is why these guys are so stiff, because the leather is made for basketball versus something like this that starts creasing like as soon as you like take a step outside, you know what I mean? So this is not exactly performance leather, but it is nice leather to wear casually. This is somewhere in between that. Now the upper on these guys has been reworked quite a bit, not just from the toe and everything, but the entire upper. So when you do compare them to the last or the current model, like this is the part that confuses me as somebody that knows lots of stuff about lots of Jordans, like almost all of them. Not everything, but I know about every Jordan model. This right here is just gonna feel like what they're doing with the highs, where there's the Air Jordan 1 High OG, even though they're not in OG. That's what the 85 version is. So I think moving forward, that's what we're gonna see. We're gonna see lows that are 85s. We're gonna see lows that are considered OG or labeled as OG, even though there's nothing OG about them. And then we're gonna have the basic ones, like we do mids and then those lows. But anyways, the uppers on these guys are just very different. The paneling is a little different too. You can see that the forefoot like eye stay area is thick, whereas the 85 version is thin, much more like the original. The back area is a little bit different as well. The Wings logo looks way better on the 85 cut than it does on the OG low.
It looks like a bad tattoo.
Yeah, like it looks like it got blown out later. You know what I mean? Like it's just all merging together. Something that's also very different is the tongues. The tongue on my dirty pair right here is nylon, like they typically are on all other renditions, like the 85 cuts, the OG highs, the lows, and all that stuff. But this one, the 85 version, is a canvas, which I think is very interesting. I don't know if that's actually an original feature or not. Believe it or not, this is one of the few Jordans that like I've never seen an OG of. Like they're so rare. Like I personally have never seen them in person. And then the laces are vintage looking laces, but they're not cheap feeling like what they used on those white and red Jordan 1 Low OG. My favorite thing that they've changed is the toe. The toe looks much more like the original. They are more reminiscent of the 85s, just in case you guys are wondering, but they are a little bit wider, whereas these are a little bit more pointy right at the little thing inside the inlay panel, but not quite as pointy as, you know, this one right here. So yeah. I think that this looks a lot better. And then the other noticeable difference is actually from the collar lining, not just the lining itself, but the sculpting of the padding inside. So the OG lows that we're typically used to are very thin inside, which is why I would go down half a size in these, which is what I ended up doing here.
Big mistake. Big. Huge.
Most people won't want to do that because they actually put padding in there and sculpting, so go me. So in case you were wondering about fit, I would go true to size for most. Again, I went down half a size because I just assumed that they were going to fit like the other OG lows, and they don't. I will say that they are a perfect, snug one-to-one fit on me half a size down. Am I okay with that? Yes, thank goodness this leather is soft, so it's forgiving. So if you like shoes that fit like that, then you could possibly go down half a size. You should be fine, but most people will want to go true to size. Just letting you guys guys know. All right, so here we are back again with our bootleg MJO23 Dan setup. Shout out to him if you're not aware of his channel. He's the original guy that does these types of comparisons, and he does them really well. So I'm not really doing him any justice, but trust me, he does it way better than I do. But anyways, I figured that we would just line these up real quick. I could probably bring in these also. This is the 2015 OG low. We'll do that later. But so far, you can just see that the swoosh has been reworked compared to the last version of the retro. And like I was saying before, this panel right here is a lot thinner than this one. This is where Vibe and them, or Vibe and Jordan Brand, are damn near neck and neck. I will give Vibe more props for their tooling mold though, because when you look at the tooling here, these will kind of like dip down and curl under a little bit. So it's like a weird kind of look. It's not like super great, you know what I mean? Like it's not perfect or anything like that. Whereas the Vibe version is just damn near perfect. It's just such a clean, crisp mold and stuff like that. Like it's just really well done. Maybe you guys can see it better if I do that. I really don't know. And then if you were interested in the toe down views on both of these guys, this is the Jordan Brand version. This is the Vibe version. This is where I feel like it looks kind of more like a dunk. Whereas the true like OG was more like this, where it was like definitely wide in the toe. And so if you're going to be looking at them kind of like side by side, this is the most accurate. I really just don't like this like weird lip up, and it looks funny from like the side and stuff like that. And then this one from the side, it looks really well done. So it's all just a little bit different. And then if you were to bring these out and what we currently know as the OG low in, you could definitely see that they're just more pointy, that, you know, paneling and stuff like that, whereas they're supposed to be kind of like more wide and round. And then if you wanted to see just what they've done with these swooshes, this was the 2015 OG. I think that this looks best. It's a ginormous swoosh. It looks awesome. Obviously the new one is a little bit bigger than this current one, or what they currently call the OG. But yeah, so this is kind of like somewhere in between. And then this guy has 7 eyelets, whereas these two both have 8, which is what is supposed to be there. So it's supposed to be 8 eyelets, not 7. And then if we're gonna compare the leather quality to both of these, so this is the Jordan Brand version right here, and then this is the Vibe remake. Obviously you can see the color differences. They really went with that vintage look. I do prefer this look in comparison. I think it just looks better. And then the leather material on this one is nice and it is thick, but the coating is just really kind of like rubbery feeling. So it like pinches and creases in weird ways that this one from Jordan Brand just looks a little bit more natural when you start to like crease it and wear it and stuff like that. So I do prefer the Jordan Brand version, which again is rare. I didn't think that was gonna actually happen. I thought that Vibe was gonna really like knock it out of the park. And while they're awesome for what they are, I do feel that this is a little bit closer to the original product in comparison. And one last thing that I forgot to note is just the logos on the back when we're comparing the Vibe version to the Jordan Brand version. The Vibe remake version is just very small. You know what I mean? It's cute. Whereas the official version is a little bit bigger. Which one is more accurate? I don't know. This is one of those shoes, man, where they are kind of like such a relic that it is so difficult to find images. Like I found these images on eBay of like the white and metallic blue ones, and the metallic is like missing on a lot of it, including the back heel where the logo was. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with us. If you were interested in these, sound off below and let us know. Also, if you wanted to let us know who did it best between the handcrafted Vibe Remake Lab or the Jordan Brand version, feel free to let me know. Again, after getting them both in the hand, both great, but these just look a little bit more like a dunk to me. It just is what it is. And I know that these have their fans. I get it. People love this version of the shoe, but it's not right. It just isn't. So I prefer this over it. Will I stop buying these? No, because these are going to be the ones that come out in really cool colorways, new colorways. I believe the 85 version will come out in OG colorways and OG themed colorways. So again, there was only 2 originals back in the day. There was this and the metallic blues. What are they going to do next though? That's what I'm really curious about. Sound off below though and let us know what you think about all of this stuff. Again, thank you so much for being here, especially if you're here at the end. We really appreciate you guys watching all the way through. I will catch y'all on the next one. So until then, have a good one.